Why is it that some people walk into a room and instantly command respect without even trying? They don't need to shout, they don't need to brag, and they don't need to prove themselves. Yet somehow, when they speak, everyone listens. Most people think respect comes from being the loudest voice, the sharpest dresser, or the most intimidating presence. But here's the truth. Those things might catch attention, but they don't create lasting influence. In fact, trying too hard is usually the fastest way to lose respect. Real respect doesn't come from force, it comes from presence. And presence begins with the way you communicate. Every pause, every word, every glance sends a message about who you are and whether people should take you seriously. In this video, we're going to break down the exact speaking techniques that make people stop, listen, and remember what you say. Some of these are subtle, almost invisible, but once you understand them, you'll see why certain people can walk into any room and leave with instant authority. And here's the best part. None of this requires being naturally charismatic or born with confidence. These are skills you can learn, practice, and apply, starting today. So let's start with the first and most overlooked way to speak with instant respect. Respect doesn't actually start with your words. It starts in the seconds before you say anything. Think about it. When someone immediately jumps into a conversation, talking over others or rushing to fill silence, it feels needy. But when someone pauses, waits, and then speaks, the room leans in. That pause signals something powerful. Control. It shows you're not desperate for attention. You're choosing when to give it. And that subtle shift flips the balance of power. Instead of chasing respect, you make others wait for your words, and waiting creates value. Psychologists call this the scarcity effect. When something feels rare, people automatically pay more attention. Silence does the same thing. Those extra few seconds before you speak make every word feel heavier. Even leaders and public speakers use this trick constantly. Watch closely, and you'll notice the most respected voices rarely rush. They don't stumble over their words or fill every gap with and Instead, they pause, breathe, and let silence do the work. And here's the irony. Most people are terrified of silence. They rush to fill it. But if you can become comfortable with those quiet moments, you instantly stand out. You project calm, patience, and authority without saying a single thing. But silence is only the beginning, because once people are leaning in, waiting for what you'll say, the way you deliver your words can either make them respect you more or lose interest instantly. Here's a common mistake. People think the louder they talk, the more respect they'll earn. But volume doesn't equal authority, conviction does. The way you deliver a sentence matters more than how loud it island. Take this simple example, I know. Now compare it to I know. The first feels like a statement of fact. The second feels like you're asking for permission. Same words, completely different impact. This is called inflection. Confident speakers use a downward inflection at the end of their sentences. It signals certainty. It closes the statement like a period, leaving no room for doubt. On the other hand, an upward inflection ending your sentences like a question makes you sound unsure, even if your words are solid. Think about the leaders you admire. Rarely do they raise their voice to be heard. Instead, their tone carries weight. They don't speak as though they hope you'll believe them. They speak as though what they're saying is already the truth. And that's why people believe it. Respect isn't about dominating the volume in the room. It's about projecting the quiet confidence that your words carry meaning. Because when you speak with conviction, people don't just hear you, they trust you. And once you've mastered tone, there's another step that takes respect even deeper, making people feel truly understood, even when you don't agree with them. One of the fastest ways to lose respect is by shutting people down. If you immediately dismiss someone's opinion, they stop listening not because you're wrong, but because they feel disrespected. And the moment people feel disrespected, they resist everything you say. The smartest communicators know this. They validate before they persuade. That doesn't mean you have to agree, it means you acknowledge. Simple phrases like, "That's a good point," or "I see why you'd think that," lower defenses instantly. You show the other person that their perspective has value, even if you're about to present a different one. Why does this work so well? Because respect is a two-way street. People naturally give more weight to your words when they feel you've given weight to theirs. In psychology, this is known as reciprocity. Treat someone's opinion with dignity, and they'll be more open to yours. Compare two scenarios. In the first, someone says, "That's wrong." In the second, they say, "I get where you're coming from, but here's another way to see it." Which voice are you more likely to respect? That's the secret. Validation doesn't weaken your point, it strengthens it. It makes your words land without resistance. And when people feel understood, they don't just listen, they lean in. But words alone aren't enough. To leave a lasting impression, you need something far more powerful: the ability to tell stories that captivate attention and make your message unforgettable. Facts inform people, but stories move them. If you want instant respect when you speak, you can't just list information you need to wrap it in a story that people feel. Why does this work? Because the human brain is wired for stories. For thousands of years, knowledge wasn't passed through textbooks or lectures, but through myths, legends, and shared experiences around a fire. Stories activate emotion, and emotion is what makes people remember. Think about the last time someone told you a powerful story. You didn't just hear the words, you pictured the scene, felt the tension, and connected it to your own life. That's the magic. When you tell a story, you stop sounding like a lecturer and start sounding like someone worth listening to. The best speakers use 3 ingredients. Mystery, they open with a hook that makes you want to know what happens next. Struggle, they reveal a challenge or conflict that feels relatable. Resolution, they close with a lesson that ties back directly to the audience. And notice this: the most respected communicators don't just tell stories about themselves. They draw from history, culture, or even everyday moments, but they always connect the story back to you, the listener. That personal connection makes people feel the story is about them, not just the speaker. So if you want your words to carry weight, stop thinking of them as facts and start shaping them into narratives. A single well-told story can earn more respect than 100 logical points. But storytelling is only half the picture. Because while your words shape the message, your body language decides whether people actually believe it. You can tell the greatest story in the world, but if your body language doesn't match your words, people won't buy it. Respect isn't just heard, it's seen. Think about it. When someone fidgets, taps their foot, or avoids eye contact, do you instinctively trust them? Probably not. But when someone stands still, speaks slowly, and looks you directly in the eyes, it signals calm control. Their presence alone demands respect. 3 things matter most here. Stillness. Confident people don't waste movement. Every gesture feels intentional, not nervous. Even something as simple as pausing before adjusting your posture makes you seem composed. Eye contact, not a stare down, not darting around the room, steady, deliberate eye contact. It communicates certainty and focus. And when you break it, do it with purpose, not hesitation. Pauses. Silence doesn't just work before you speak, it works while you speak. When you pause mid-sentence, people lean in. They anticipate your next words. You create suspense without saying anything. Here's the key. Respect grows when your body says, "I'm in control," even before your words do. It's the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove anything, because their presence already does. But there's something deeper that amplifies all of this. A hidden ingredient that makes your tone, your stories, and your body language resonate on another level. It comes from your past, from what you've already endured. There's a reason some voices instantly carry weight. They come from someone who's clearly been through something. Real confidence isn't loud or flashy. It's the calm that comes from surviving storms most people can't imagine. Think about the veterans, leaders, or mentors you've met who barely raise their voice, yet everyone listens when they speak. Their authority doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from the quiet signal that says, "I've already faced worse than this. I don't need to prove myself to you." That kind of presence can't be faked. People can sense when your confidence is surface-level bravado versus when it's rooted in real experience. And when it's real, your words hit differently. Even simple advice feels heavier because it's backed by scars, not theory. The irony is, struggle doesn't weaken your influence, it deepens it. It makes you relatable. It shows you've earned your perspective, not just read it in a book. And when people see that depth, they respect it instantly. But here's where most people sabotage themselves. Instead of letting their confidence speak through presence, they smother it with something that kills respect every time. If silence builds respect and conviction gives it power, then nothing destroys it faster than over-explaining. When you feel the need to justify every word, to add 5 examples, or to repeat yourself just to make sure people get it, what you're really signaling is insecurity. Strong communicators don't rush to convince. They don't fill every gap with endless detail. Instead, they say what needs to be said and then stop. That restraint makes their words land harder. It forces the listener to process, instead of being buried under a flood of explanations. Think about how judges, CEOs, or military leaders give directions. They don't add fluff. They don't nervously backtrack. They speak once, clearly, and expect others to follow. That simplicity commands respect. Over-explaining, on the other hand, sounds like you're asking for approval. Do you understand me? Did I say it right? Let me add one more point. And the moment you sound like you're seeking validation, you lose authority. The truth is, people respect precision. They respect words chosen carefully, not thrown around carelessly. If you can learn to say less, but make each word sharper, you'll notice people start hanging on to every sentence. But of course, knowing what not to say is only half the battle. The real challenge is applying all of these techniques in real conversations. So respect isn't just something you hope for. It becomes automatic. All of this sounds powerful in theory, but how do you actually make it part of the way you speak every day? The answer is practice. And the good news is, you don't need a stage or an audience to start building respect into your voice right now. Start small with these habits. Pause before you respond. In conversations, resist the urge to answer instantly. Take a breath, collect your thoughts, and then speak. That tiny pause projects calm control and makes people take your words more seriously. Record yourself. Most people have no idea how they actually sound. Use your phone, record a short explanation of anything: your weekend plans, a news story, even a random thought. Then listen back. Notice your tone, pace, and whether your words rise like questions or land with certainty. Adjust until your delivery feels grounded. Practice storytelling hooks. Every day, find one small story you can tell, something that happened at work, in the news, or from your own life. Instead of just explaining it, frame it like a story with mystery, struggle, and resolution. Over time, this becomes second nature, and people will start hanging on to your words. Cut the extra words. Train yourself to trim sentences. Instead of saying, "Well, what I meant to say was, I think that maybe it could be possible," just say, "It's possible." Fewer words, more weight. The more you repeat these simple drills, the more natural they become. And when they become habits, respect follows automatically. Because here's the truth. Respect isn't built in one big speech. It's built in every small conversation, every pause, every glance, every word you choose. And once you start applying these daily, you'll notice something surprising. People don't just hear your words differently, they treat you differently. Respect isn't about being the loudest voice in the room or the toughest presence at the table. It's not about forcing people to listen. It's about making them want to listen. And the way you do that is through presence, patience, and precision. You've seen how silence creates anticipation, how tone signals certainty without aggression, how validation lowers defenses, how storytelling pulls people in, how body language amplifies your message, how real struggle deepens your authority, and how trimming words makes every sentence land harder. Put all of that together, and you'll notice a shift. People don't just hear you anymore, they respect you. But here's the deeper truth. Respect is not the end goal. It's only the beginning. Because once you earn it, the question becomes, what will you do with it? Will you use it to dominate, or to inspire, to silence others, or to give them a voice? The power of your words isn't just in how they sound, it's in the impact they leave behind. So, the next time you speak, ask yourself, are you just filling the silence, or are you creating presence that people will never forget?